An outbreak at 4 high-tech factories in Miaoli County has people worried about Taiwan's high-tech industry. Also, we'll tell you how Taiwan's first domestic COVID vaccine performed in Phase 2 trials.
A little later in our show, we'll tell you how many companies are letting people work from home and how they're making it work.
Also, some good news. The outbreak is stabilizing throughout most of Taiwan. We'll explain why.
And in hashtag Taiwan, Leslie tells you why you should stay home for the Dragon Boat Festival. This is Taiwan Insider.
Welcome to Taiwan Insider. I'm Andrew Ryan. We start today with a pandemic-related story from Taiwan that could have global impact. It involves one of Taiwan's most important industries, an industry that powers computers around the world.
Kingyuan Electronics, Great Tech Electronics, Acton Technology, and Fox Semicon are 4 Taiwanese tech firms in the news. Not for their tech products, but because of their COVID-19 cluster infections. All 4 are in the western county of Miaoli, and the hardest hit, Kingyuan's facility with 253 COVID cases. The cluster infection at Kingyuan's facility began among migrant workers, many of whom live in close quarters in shared dormitories. Officials say those conditions could cause the virus to spread more quickly. That's why Kingyuan has put its migrant workforce on paid leave and sent them to a quarantine center. Kingyuan closed its factory for 2 days to undergo disinfection. On Monday, Taiwanese workers returned to the factory where they were met with stricter prevention controls. A Kingyuan representative says that the company has redistributed its workforce to maintain output. Smaller clusters at Greatech, Acton, and Fox Semicon are being closely monitored. Acton has set up rapid testing outside of its factory, but the factory remains closed. Fox Semicon, which is a subsidiary of Foxconn, shut down operations on Monday for 3 days after 6 of its employees were confirmed with COVID. Miaoli County government has also set up rapid testing centers near the migrant worker dormitories to test locals who live in the neighborhood. With the country's prize industry at stake, officials are not taking any chances.
Now, after this story broke, Miaoli County officials announced a ban on foreign migrant workers leaving their dorms. Now, human rights groups say that the measure is discriminatory. Health officials have also responded. They say that the current level 3 restrictions that are in place in Taiwan do not ban people from leaving their homes. They also say that those restrictions apply to everyone equally, regardless of nationality. Now, another story that we've been looking at, a local pharmaceutical company has completed Phase 2 trials on a new vaccine. Medigen Vaccine Biologics Corporation says the Phase 2 trials of its COVID-19 vaccine were a success. The company held a press conference on Thursday evening saying it will apply immediately for emergency use authorization from Taiwan's Food and Drug Administration and is hoping that vaccinations can begin in July. Medigen says that 3,815 people took part in its Phase 2 trial, with the oldest participant aged 89. Of the participants who got the vaccine, the company says 99.8% developed antibodies to fight COVID-19. As for safety, Medigen says none of the participants had serious adverse reactions. The company says the vaccine produced fewer side effects than some of the vaccines already in circulation, and they say people probably will not have to take the day off due to aches and pains. Medigen is seeking international certification. The company says it will contact the European Medicines Agency and other international medical bodies as soon as possible to organize Phase 3 clinical trials. The company hopes to ramp up production quickly and produce 10 million doses by the end of this year. Medigen says that its trial shows encouraging results for safety and immune response, and that should mean it helps the body fight COVID-19. But until there's more real-world data, we can't know for sure.
Since Taiwan's domestic outbreak began last month, some Taiwanese companies have allowed people to work from home. Now, how common is that? Well, a recent survey of nearly 60,000 people by Yahoo Taiwan shows that 31% of companies have all employees go to work. 22% have employees take turns working from home. That's what RTI does. And 17% say employees are free to choose. That's pretty nice. While 6% have everyone working from home. Now, working from home is really new for most companies in Taiwan. Taiwan Insider Staś Butler talked to some people to see how they're making it work.
Even
the softest lockdowns are tough. Restaurants are closed, streets deserted, and train stations almost empty. But a lot of offices are still open for business. That's a topic that's received coverage in a range of international media outlets. Most of them highlight a hierarchical workplace culture that's resistant to leaving employees unsupervised. You can get a sense of how the outbreak has affected people's lives by looking at COVID-19 community mobility reports from Google. The data shows that visits to retail and recreation venues are 59% lower than they were in January, when life in Taiwan was fairly normal. And visits to transit stations are down by even more, by 71%. But compare that to data for workplaces, and you see a much smaller drop, only 21%. So it looks like most companies aren't ready to fully work from home yet. But some companies are ahead of the game. I spoke to Amy Liao, a manager at leading design firm Paradise Design. They have over 50 employees, and all but 2 of them are working from home. She tells me how they made it work.
We make a plan, like how we release people batch by batch, and we check everyone's home equipment. We have this chart already, so we can see where people live, and we can see about their internet system.
Proper planning was something that also came up when I spoke to Connor Mitchell. He works for Swire Coca-Cola in Taoyuan.
So we've actually done 3 stints of working from home now. The first one was last year at sort of the first peak of COVID. Then a couple of months ago, there was a small outbreak around in Taoyuan.
So you're kind of giving it like these two trial runs and it's kind of working out best. Would you say the best this third time round?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there are companies being really innovative with some of their technical solutions. Chen Yuchan, who works in international admissions at National Taiwan University, told me her office is using video calling space GatherTown to recreate their office environment.
It was like the second week that all our staff working from home. So one of my very talented colleagues kind of create our office like by the original decoration. So we can easily go to our seat every morning, and then our colleagues can know if we are available or not, or we are going to a meeting room, almost like the real office.
Has there been anything that you've thought, wow, this is actually working, this is working very well?
We are more willing to say hello, to bid our greetings to each other online.
What I have noticed is people definitely schedule a lot fewer meetings. But if we ever need to sort of discuss something, it actually becomes a very quick 15-minute sort of Skype or Microsoft Teams meeting, as opposed to sort of a whole hour where you get the entire team in to do a long discussion. I found in that sense it's actually become sort of much quicker.
Because when we were back in office, we kind of, we see each other, so we don't really know what you are doing. But after we have this online check-in rule or principle, we really know what they are doing.
I think the biggest positive I've noticed, I think especially last year, I think a lot of the middle management were actually very reticent about letting everyone work from home, and it was seen as a really big negative. I think in Taiwan there is a culture of managing teams very closely and less of a, I'm just going to let you go off and do your thing. I know you'll get it done. Don't worry about it. So I think people learning that that can be done here is quite important, especially I think in the future. It's not just something I think that people back in the UK want. I do think, talking to a lot of young people in the office, they love the amount of flexibility, and they're hoping that in the future, a couple of days a week, maybe it'll be possible to work from home. I think young people view it as a big positive that they've been able to do this kind of in a forced trial run that should in some ways help the work culture, I think, become a bit more in step with sort of modern workplaces.
And what do you think is the key to making kind of working from home, work if you're a company? What are the things you need to do?
So basically, you need to make all your staff can communicate with each other. So a lot of apps or softwares?
I think it's just the will to try your best to be connected to people.
I'd say there's two sides. Firstly, you need your management to trust your younger, more junior staff. I think working from home becomes very inefficient if people are continually being sort of called into an online Skype meeting, and then it becomes sort of overload and you're doing even more meetings than you would before. I think on the technical side, you need really stable sort of office servers, and you need really good connection to those office servers.
And the benefits aren't only professional.
What's been the kind of the biggest positive to come out of it?
Can I say that my work-life balance has improved?
For me, working from home means the flexibility to get things done to my timetable. Plus I get to spend more time with my flatmates and work on personal projects. And of course it's nice to have the option to take a mid-afternoon nap. The benefits are there for employers and employees alike. So for companies looking to start preparing for the future, there's no time like the present.
Looks like Stash really enjoys working from home, and I do too. I think it's great to not have to commute to work. That's a lot less stress. You save a lot of time, and also it's much easier to balance work and family. I think this kind of policy, if they use it in the long run, actually could help Taiwan's birth rate. Andrew, what about you?
Oh, it's interesting. I didn't think about that. Now, for me, I think when we started working from home about a year ago, I was very much against it. I felt that we didn't really have the systems in place to do it properly. And, I missed you guys. I wanted to see my coworkers. But I think a year out, we know what we're doing better, and I think we have a better handle on the situation. And I think we use video chatting much better than we did before. So things have definitely improved a lot, and I'm actually starting to enjoy parts of it. Now, we also have some more good news today. Some new figures out of Taiwan show that the outbreak is stabilizing, and it has something to do with the R number. Natalie Tso has more in today's Taiwan Explained.
So what's an R number? Well, it's a reproduction number, which means how many people on average one person with the virus will spread the virus to. Now, mid-May, Taiwan's R number was 15. That means one person was spreading it to 15 people. And the good news is now it's down to 1. That means it's stabilizing, but we can't let our guard down yet because it could spike really easily. Next up on hashtag Taiwan, Leslie Liao tells us why we need to stay home for the holidays.
Dragon Boat Festival. Dragon Boat Festival is around the corner. This weekend is a long weekend with the festival itself landing on June 14th. It's a time for dragon boat races, sticky rice dumplings, and visiting family. Not this year though. I don't know if you heard, but Taiwan is in the middle of a COVID-19 outbreak right now. So even if it is a long weekend, they're telling people not to go anywhere. Taiwan's health ministry posted this picture to Facebook urging people to stay at home. Don't go visiting nobody, all right? No mama, no papa, no auntie, no uncle, no grandpa, no grandma, no cousins, no nobody. The movement urging people to stay at home is trending on social media because there are a number of factors here that could cause this outbreak to blow right up if people are on the move. Chinese lesson time. 北漂族 means people who wander north. The term describes people who are from other parts of Taiwan but moved to northern Taiwan in search of better job opportunities. And that's because Taipei City is the best place in the entire world. Taiwan Insider editor Jessica Cheng is a 北漂族. She's from Jiayi in southern Taiwan, which is right around here. Anyway, northern Taiwan has been hit the worst by this most recent outbreak. As of recording, Taipei and New Taipei City have close to 9,000 locally transmitted COVID-19 cases, which is about 75% of all COVID-19 cases in Taiwan. Just to give you an idea, Taoyuan City has the third most domestic cases at around 500. So people are worried about a bunch of 北漂族 returning to other parts of Taiwan, bringing the virus to the rest of the country over Dragon Boat weekend. If people don't stay at home, what's happening in Taipei and New Taipei City now can spread to other parts of the country, just making this outbreak a whole lot worse. There's also risk of transmission between passengers if people go ahead and crowd mass transportation. Taiwan's YouTubers and politicians have gotten together to urge people to stay home. One Tainan funeral parlor even posted to Facebook saying, "Sure, go home. Go ahead. Give me some business." Now that's just plain morbid. Another graphic circulating on social media says, if you go home to honor your deceased ancestors, you might become one yourself. Now, you might be thinking, what do we do about the people who book their tickets to go home way in advance? What do we do about them? Well, the good news is that transportation authorities in Taiwan, whether they be train, high-speed rail, or buses, say they're waiving the cancellation fee if you're having second thoughts about going home. I know that for a fact because I asked Jessica Chang, who canceled her high-speed rail ticket home, which, by the way, great job, Jessica, and I know you see this because you're the one putting it together. And she said she was not charged a transaction fee. And for now, it looks like that the campaign is working because transportation companies have reported ticket returns all across the board. In fact, only 7% of train seats have been booked for the weekend, which is absolutely unheard of in Taiwan. Now look, I know it's tempting to want to go home over a long weekend, especially during Dragon Boat Festival when there are sticky rice dumplings to be had. And you might be thinking, well, that's easy for you to say, Leslie, you're from Taipei. True, I might be a proud Taipei citizen, but Grandma Liao is in Taichung, and if it weren't for COVID, I'd be spending my long weekend with her. But if I can fight the temptation to go visit Grandma Liao, then you can survive a long weekend away from your family. Grandma Liao is 97. She does not need to be 97 with COVID.
Now, before we leave you today, let's take a look at some of the other stories from this past week that have been on our radar.
U.S. Senators Tammy Duckworth, Dan Sullivan, and Christopher Coons made a visit to Taipei on Sunday morning, arriving in a U.S. Air Force plane. In a speech during the 3-hour stopover, Duckworth announced that the United States will donate 750,000 COVID-19 vaccine doses to Taiwan as part of a plan to distribute at least 80 million doses worldwide. President Tsai Ing-wen met with the senators and expressed her thanks for the vaccines. The U.S. Senate has passed a bill aimed at helping American industries compete with China's rapidly growing high-tech sector. It includes several sections that affect Taiwan, including the creation of a Taiwan Fellowship for U.S. government employees to work and study in Taiwan. The bill would also allow Taiwanese national symbols such as the flag to be displayed in the U.S. for official purposes. Taiwan has expressed its gratitude to Japan for a donation of 1.24 million COVID-19 vaccine doses that arrived June 4th. In addition to thanks from officials such as President Tsai Ing-wen and Health Minister Chen Shih-chung, signs of gratitude also came from such Taiwanese icons as Taipei 101 and Taipei's Grand Hotel. Taiwan's beloved night markets are feeling a financial squeeze as COVID-19 keeps them from opening. Losses at Kaohsiung's famed Ruifeng night market are so severe that it may have to close permanently if the situation doesn't improve soon. Some lawmakers are calling for relief measures to keep these Taiwanese institutions afloat.
All right, instead of a final question today, we're going to show you what we look like when we work from home. Let's start off with Natalie.
All right, when I'm working at home, this is what people usually see in video chats. I think I look fairly professional here, but actually, I'm usually just sitting on my bed surrounded by pillows with my cat Felix by my side.
All right, we go now to Leslie.
So for my work from home environment, I just want to show you guys the studio where I film #Taiwan from. Now, what you see is pretty straightforward, right? You guys get the backdrop, and then to my right is usually consoles and soundboards and all that technical stuff. What you don't see, however, is to my left and to my right are actually two gigantic spectating windows, one leading out into the hallway and one leading into another studio that I think the French service at RTI uses. I get very animated, I have a lot of expressions, and I can only imagine what the French service sees when they look at me through a soundproof glass, just seeing me make all these gestures and expressions. Not only that, but I sometimes forget that, this studio environment can be pretty isolating, so I like to blast my music while the computer's loading up and sing to myself sometimes, and I think one time I forgot that one of our French colleagues were in there and they just saw me doing stuff I'm not proud of.
All right, and finally, this is what my coworkers usually see when I'm working from home. You can see that's the red background that I usually use in my dining room. And then this is what they don't see. Yep, I'm wearing flip-flops and have a nice glass of wine next to me. Well, call it what you like. I call it self-care. Well, thanks so much for joining us for Taiwan Insider. I'm Andrew Ryan.
I'm Natalie Tso. Have a great holiday at home.
And I'm Leslie Liao, coming to you from my bedroom window.
And as always, be sure to connect with us on social media and leave a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. See you next week.